The White House Chief of Staff has reportedly said President Donald Trump's campaign promises on immigration were uninformed. U.S. media is reporting John Kelly made the comments while discussing immigration with Democratic politicians. Democrats want guarantees to protect undocumented immigrants before backing a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. Well, Shihab Rattansi is joining me now from Washington, D.C. Shihab, just give us some context here. What was it that General Kelly actually said?
Well, it seemed to be another case, and we've seen a lot of this recently, particularly in that book by Michael Wolff, The Fire and the Fury, and someone very close to Donald Trump politically, almost bad-mouthing him and boasting about their influence over Donald Trump. So John Kelly said that while Donald Trump was on the campaign trail, his policies, his signature policy, his key policy, build the wall, was uninformed, and that Kelly had to explain to Donald Trump that it simply wasn't possible, geographically, topographically, to build a cement wall from sea to shining sea. In addition, there was no way that the Mexican government was directly going to pay for it. So that's what was so strange about this. Kelly was bragging about this. That's all very well, but the problem is everything that Trump says in public doesn't suggest he has evolved, as Kelly was suggesting to lawmakers in Congress. It's kind of added to the confusion as to where the administration stands. Kelly then did an interview with Fox News, though, after these reports surfaced, where he certainly gave it a much more benign context as to what he was trying to explain to the members of Congress. He wasn't bragging about anything, it seemed. He was just explaining how the realities of politics work after an election and you begin governing.
He's adjusted the way he's looked at the South Asia strategy, Afghanistan. He's very definitely changed his attitude towards the DACA issue. And even the wall, once we briefed him when I was at DHS, he has evolved in the way he's looked at things. Campaign to governing are two different things, and this president is very, very flexible in terms of what is within the realm of the possible.
Yeah, Shihab, as we mentioned before, this is all part of talks leading up to trying to find some sort of agreement ahead of this Friday deadline for to prevent the government shutdown. Now, we've been in this situation before. We saw it during the Obama era, but at that point, the two sides were much closer. This time, they're very far apart. What do you think the expectation is, that there might be an agreement that will actually avoid this shutdown?
I think there's more of a chance now that there might be agreement than there might have been a couple of days ago. But let me explain. The key there is DACA, which you heard John Kelly mention, deferred action on deportees. These are the immigrants who came to the U.S. as children without the proper documentation. President Obama gave them a waiver against deferral. Donald Trump said he was going to stop that deferral, but gave Congress until March to come up with a way to come up with some sort of replacement for it. He said, I love these people, after all. But this is another reason why there's that confusion as to what the White House position is, because last week it seemed there was a bipartisan agreement had been come up for DACA, but then on Tuesday, Donald Trump seemed to love it. By Thursday, famously, and with profanity, he said he hated the compromise. The reason why that's then part of these budget negotiations that you were alluding to is it seems that some Democrats are saying, look, unless we get a deal on DACA, we're not going to vote for any kind of continuing resolution or a year-long budget resolution which will fund the government for another year. The government might shut down on Friday, say the Democrats, some Democrats, unless we reach a deal. Now, the Republicans have shifted things slightly in the House. What they're now rather craftily saying is, look, we may not be able to come up with a deal on DACA, but what we will do is have a continuing resolution, another temporary resolution until mid-February to fund the budget, but in that we will add a provision to fund a childhood health insurance program for 6 years. And that's another key Democratic demand, and Donald Trump has let that languish, this child health insurance thing, which is so important to millions of children around the country. So they're kind of daring the Democrats to vote against that when that is another one of their goals. So there's a chance now that there might be some compromise and DACA might be again kicked down the road, and we'll just have a temporary resolution, or, as some Democrats are saying, no deal will be possible without resolution on these dreamers, the deferred action for childhood arrivals.
Shihab Rattansi, live for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.